Hello folks, welcome to my channel. It's all about racing. Glad to have you here. We're going to take a look at two cars now, kind of my double review series, so to speak. Both Corvette C8Rs, respectively, one being the Mini GT model in 1/64 scale, and the other by its parent brand, TSM, or True Scale Miniatures, in 1/43 scale. Now, if you saw my previous video, that had the same car, the number 3 car, in the Sebring gray livery, or what I call the one-off livery, which is very unusual for Corvette. This is Corvette's normal livery for the number 3 car. Beautiful as it is, this being the 8th generation, or the C8R, respectively. Started off with the Mini GT. This obviously is a 1/64 scale car. It is a die-cast, which means it is metal. It's not resin. However, it is sealed and it does roll, which a lot of people like. As a collector, quite frankly, I find it annoying. But, you know, there you have it. It does come in it's like a retail box, so to speak, a blister pack. And once you break it open, you're left with this. And it stores very nicely in this, but there is nothing to display it on. It comes with no base. It doesn't have a jewel cover. You have to put it in something. And I do have a case that I put all my 1/64 scale cars in. Being 1/64 scale, it's very sturdy. There are no really small parts to damage on this, which makes handling it fairly simple and easy to do, something I can't do with the sister 1/43 scale car. Even the mirrors, which a lot of times on Mini GT are really crappy and touchy, and they're even worse on Spark and Tarmax Works, are very steady. And the rear spoiler it feels like it's made of gold. I mean, you couldn't break this if you wanted to. I could probably drop it upside down and it would be fine. I can't say the same for the 1/43 scale car. Now, taking a look at the TSM model, and this is True Scale Miniature. This is the parent company of the Mini GT. This is a 1/43 scale car. It is a sealed resin model, and it may or may not move. I don't know. I'm not going to test the theory by taking it off. I never do with any of my cars. It comes on a really nice white, almost marble-looking base, even though it's plastic. The bottom of it feels really rich. I mean, I love these. They're made of felt, and you can't even see the screws there. You have to remove the felt layer off to get to the screws if you want to detach it from the base, something that I have never done. In fact, I just opened up this model. It is brand spanking new, and I removed the little tapes that holds the jewel case onto it for this review. Speaking of, one thing that I love about 1/43 scale cars, whether you buy them from TSM or Spark or anybody, is almost all of them come with jewel cases. In fact, I can't think of any I've bought that haven't come with jewel cases, unless they were just lost and I bought them secondhand. This is no exception. Beautiful jewel case, kind of cheesy box, but it does the purpose. It's a great way of displaying a car on an absolutely beautiful base, and I truly do love it. Now, taking a look at these two cars, and we'll take the stands off. The smaller car, the details are very, very nice. One thing I like about it is you take a look at the front end. Mini GT or TSM did a really good job on the front of these cars. Look at the headlights. They're very, very well done. Even the fog lights on the bottom are plastic inserts, which at 1/64 scale car retails for like $15. Is pretty doggone good, I think. Details are nice, going up, looking at the hood and the likes. The color is good. And unlike the other car that I reviewed, the number 3 car with the gray livery, they did not screw up the color of the banner. They got it right on this one. They did not on their other car. It's supposed to have a white banner, but it had a black one. That is black is reserved for the C4 or for the number 4 car. The only thing I don't like about 1/64 scale cars is the lack of detail, particularly compared to the 1/43. And you're going to look at both of them side by side, and you'll be able to see it. Wheel detail is really thin. You got rubber tires on there. They do roll. They got the black right. The center lug is too big. And there are no rotors or brake calipers, so to speak, that you're going to see on it. They do a great job decaling. I mean, it's accurate all the way to the number panel, the GTLM, the number 3 with the red background. Now, bear in mind, this C8R, this is a 2021 model, I believe. No, I'm sorry, 2020. I take that back. It's 2020. It does compete in the WeatherTech series, and This is a Pro entry, the number 3 car, so it does have the red number panel, the red mirrors, the red on the rear wing, on the end plates of the rear wing. That is required for identification purposes, and they do that very, very nicely and very well on this model. You take a look at the back of it, and we spin this around a little bit. The engine cover is excellent. I've never understood why Corvette doesn't have louvers to provide air in or out of it, but I assume they have their reasons. It is unfortunately covered, so you can't see what the engine looks like. This is a mid-engine car. It is a V8. It is naturally aspirated. And I think when they come out with the Z06 model, it'll be turbocharged, respectively, as they typically do. But anyhow, another thing that Mini GT did really nicely, and I give them credit for, is they have nice plastic taillights. Spark doesn't do that. And as nice as the Spark cars are, particularly their 143 scale cars, they don't do that in their 164 scale models. And they have a number of Porsches that would look really good if they would just give them plastic taillights, but they don't. The rear diffuser is a little undersized, but probably okay for the scale. The tailpipes, they have them kind of painted bronze, so it looks like they've got them, but they're not, and they're pointing in the wrong direction. They're supposed to be pointing up, and they point straight out. This is one flaw that TSM True Scale Miniatures does get wrong on all their models, particularly the C8 Corvette, is those tailpipes are supposed to be pointing upwards and not straight out. It may be hard to do in this scale, or any scale for that matter, because they haven't done it with the 143 scale either. But otherwise, not bad. Look, on the passenger side, much like the driver's side, pretty much the same. Details on 164 scale are really nominal. You can hardly see anything in there except the dashboard and the steering wheel, and barely that. The windows are tinted, which makes it challenging, and they did get that right because they're tinted in the 143 scale model as well. So now let's take a look at that model. And here you have the granddaddy of the bunch, the 143 scale model, and instantly you take a look at those wheels. Beautiful, nicely done with the Michelin logos on there. You can clearly see brake rotors and calipers. The side rail, nicely done. It is flat black and not carbon the way it's supposed to be. And like the 164 scale car, all the decaling is just dead on. It's beautiful. The rear of the car, pretty much the same. You do see a really nice fuel input outlet there that you don't see, and you can clearly see through the window the seat. And if you were able to see, and then these are tinted and they're hard, and with a light you can see inside of them. You can clearly see the steering column, as well as the center console and other things on the inside of the car. Things that you get at 143 scale that you don't get at 164. And then you take a look at the front of the car. And, again, I love these bases that the TSM models come on. They're absolutely gorgeous. They're made of plastic, but I swear they look like marble. And the tampo graphics they put on here, are just tremendous. Chevrolet Corvette C8R number 3, the 2021 Daytona 24-hour Corvette racing. This is their traditional livery that has remained consistent for the 5 years that it's been out. It changes very little, except for their 2021 12 hours of Sebring. But if you take a look at this, one of the things that you get at 143 scale is you get really nicely done fog lights and headlights. The grille is inlaid. It's just not plastic that's painted. You get a tow hook, and the front splitter looks nice. You just don't get that in the 164 scale car. And we'll pull the other Corvette up to it, and you can kind of see. Now, again, I give Mini GT kudos for the fog lights, and a nice detail that they have done with inlaid plastic, and they try to make it look almost as good as it does in 143 scale, but it's not quite there. Also, in 143 scale car, you get the removable tabs for the hood with little arrows pointing to them. You don't see that in 164 scale. Interior details much nicer and much more apparent on the 143 scale than on 164. And of course, you do get aerials on the top. One thing you also get at 143 scale that you don't get at 164, and it is a tiny little detail. And I'm trying to, there you go. You can see it on the nose of the car. You see those little tiny silver protrusions. Those are aerions that measure wind and airspeed. Very important for the engineers as they monitor that during the race. And as I'd mentioned, you get the nice aerials you get on the top here. Now notice these are not real long aerials. They don't stick up, and they all have different purposes. Some are cameras, some are communications, others do other functions. But GM is very clever in making these small. I have a C7 Corvette, and you won't find any aerials on my car. They're built into the rear tailgate. So GM, a lot of their technology from their racing trickles down to their road cars, which I think is really cool. Again, details are beautiful here, as you would expect. We've kind of looked at that. We're going to take a look at the back of the cars now that we've got them on the same pedestal, and the other one hasn't rolled off to my embarrassment yet. We're doing pretty doggone good. You take a look at the back and you've got that nice massive rear diffuser, the tailpipe sticking out. They're not colored, just to show that they're there. They're actual metal pieces that are sticking out. They're not pointed in the right direction. They should be pointing up at a slight angle, but they're pointing straight out. That is technically wrong, but give them credit for trying. The tow hook is there just like it should be. Beautiful work on the rear tail lights, on the mesh grille, that provides air to flow through from the rear tires. Beautifully done, very nicely done. You've got the rain running light there in the center, in between GTLM and 3. Beautiful. And the rear wing is just really nicely done in carbon fiber. It's stunning. The 1/64 scale car tries to do the same as best they can to scale, and give them credit. They do a pretty good job. Just not great, but it's good. And if you take them side by side, and I'll actually lift this little car up because I can, and you can take a look at them, obviously the scale differences are significant. The wheel detail is lacking. All the little tiny parts that, and little pieces that provide realism and detail with 1/43 scale, you don't get at the 1/64 scale car. You do, however, get a car that you can easily touch, look at, roll if you so choose to. Even though it doesn't roll as good as a Hot Wheel, respectively. It doesn't come with a display case, which I find somewhat disappointing. But then again, it only costs $15 to $20, including shipping on eBay. Now, the 1/43 scale car, that sells for about $65 to $80, including shipping. You can find deals on it. I think I paid $67 for this, which I consider to be pretty good. If it came down to the two and I had to buy one or the other, I would always choose the 1/43 scale over the 1/64 because I can. They're just better cars. They're better detailed. I am a detail fanatic. One thing you may not know about me is I tend to go to about 10 races a year. They're all sports car races. I pissed away 20 years of my life on NASCAR, which I would like to take back because NASCAR racing has become disappointing, and they're not real cars. They're cars that pretend to be cars. These are not real cars either, but they do at least look like the cars that they sell for real. And they do share some of the components, but it's much more exciting racing. It's better. You're not focusing on drivers. You're focusing on cars. And I am a car guy. I'm a car fanatic. I'm the guy that'll be running around the paddock taking pictures of all the cars, detail for detail. So I can tell you what are good representations or what are not because I've got pictures of them to prove it. Done a very, very good job. The Mini GT car, again, is a good representation, and it's inexpensive. So, and as you see, I have both, and there's a reason for that. I do collect both. But if it came to one or the other, as I mentioned before, I would take the 1/43 scale over the 1/64. And for the reasons I've showed you in this particular video. But I hope you've enjoyed it. It's kind of cool to take a look at two cars, different scales made by the same company. And I think, TSM has done a very good job with both of these. Thanks for watching.